Good morning Year 6 and welcome to what you'll be pleased to hear is the last video on constructing pie charts. I'm so proud of you if you've stuck with me. This has been the hardest thing I've ever had to teach through YouTube. I'd love it if I actually had you here and I could see your little confused faces and I could help you with however I've confused you, or I could show you how to actually use a protractor, but unfortunately I'm not here with you, so I really hope it's not been too hard and that you have understood. So welcome to our last session on constructing pie charts. As always, I would like to start with your Fluent in 5. Please pause the video and have a go. So hopefully you paused. So the first one, 930, 480, 952, 9.99, and the missing number was 12,811. So let's move on to today's learning. So I'm going to do an example with you, and then again there'll be one for you to do independently. So imagine you have collected the following data about eye colour for 60 people. So here you've got a table of your results. You've got how many people had each eye colour and that you are 60 people in total. We're going to look at turning that data into a pie chart. So remember, a circle has a full turn of 360 degrees. To find out how big each section of the pie chart needs to be, we need to find out how many degrees each piece of data represents. Now, we need to divide 360, because that's our total number of degrees in a full turn, by the total size of our sample. So we had 60 people. So we do 360 degrees divided by our 60 people means that each person is represented by 6 degrees. So if you had one person, your segment would just be 6 degrees. If you had 10 people, your segment would be 60 degrees. Because you have worked out by doing 360 degrees divided by our total number of people, you've worked out how many degrees each person has. Now we know that we have 6 degrees for each person, we can find out how many degrees for each colour of eye. We multiply the number of people in each data set, so each colour, by 6 to calculate the size of the angle for that sector. So we would do 22 people times 6 degrees gives us 132 degrees in the pie chart. 13 people times 6 degrees gives us 78 degrees in the pie chart, etc. Now obviously, if it doesn't total up to 360 degrees, we've gone wrong somewhere, and it's always worth checking that just in case your times table has gone a bit wonky. Then you draw your circle, you mark on the radius, that centre point, from the very top to the middle and the exact centre. You then place your protractor along your radius line, along that first line, and measure your first slice of data. So if your first slice of data was 10 degrees, then you would measure on 10 degrees. If it was 180, then you would measure on a full half of the circle. Once you have drawn the line to represent where that segment ends, you move your protractor around so that you are along the line you've just drawn, and you measure again. So here is your challenge. The table shows the meal choices of customers in a restaurant at one lunchtime. So in your table you've got all of the meal choices, you've got the amount of people that chose that meal choice, and you've got the number of degrees. But what you will notice is you have some missing boxes. But you've actually got all the information you need. You know that there were 60 people in total. You know that your full pie chart needs to add up to 360 degrees. So before you do any of this, work out how much each person is worth, each customer is worth in degrees. So you've got 360 degrees in total, and you've got 60 people were asked. How would you work out how much each person is worth? Then, if you've been given the number of people, you can work out the number of degrees. Think about how you did that. Now here, you've been given the number of degrees, but not the number of people. So you've been told the end result. Think about how you may go back to work out the number of people. Again, if you know how many number of degrees each person represents, and you know the number of degrees for the meal choice, you should be able to use that information to work out the number of people. Check that when you've got those numbers, they add up to 60. If they don't, it's not quite right because there were 60 people. Same with your degrees. If they don't add up to 360, can't be right, because 360 must be our total. So pause the video and have a go at that. Then, when you have completed your data, now I haven't put the table on the side because I want you to work out the table yourself, not just see that I've done it for you. So when you've worked out how many degrees each meal choice represented, here's your centre line. Have a go at drawing your segments on to represent each piece of data. If you can't remember how to use a protractor, maybe go back and watch the previous video. But pause the video and have a go. So here are your answers. So if there were 20 people that chose meat, you needed to do 360 divided by 60 to work out what one person or one customer was worth. Now if you know what 36 divided by 60 is, then you should know what 360 divided by 60 is. But the answer is 6 degrees. 6 degrees per customer. Then, if you know there were 20 people, you do 6 degrees times 20 people and you get 120 degrees for meat. Now you knew that there were 96 degrees for fish, but you didn't know the number of people. But you knew that each person was worth 6 degrees. So you needed to do 96 divided by 6 to give you 16 people. Then you didn't have any results for vegan, but you could have paused and gone back to it, because once you had worked out gluten-free by doing 4 people times 6 degrees for each person and got 24, you should have added all of your data together that you were given, found your total for everything other than vegan. Then you could have taken it away from 360 to find 42, or you could have calculated how many people you had apart from vegan, taken that total away from 60 to find you had 7 people, and then do 7 times 6 to get 42. But there were 2 different ways of finding out those missing numbers. Then, once you had done that, you used your protractor to mark on your pie chart, and hopefully your pie chart looks something like this, with gluten-free being the smallest segment, with meat being the largest segment, and vegan being the next smallest, for example, and so on. So really, 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 really well done if you got that. And you have made it. You have finished your week on constructing pie charts. Very well done. See you next week.